we will hike across one of the most surreal places that you can find in the world. It's just like being inside a lava forest. First, we step into brown hills with some green tones, and then everything changes to red, and then we are here in the middle of the biggest volcanic canyon in the world. Hi everyone, my name is Alberto. I'm local guide here in Iceland, and today I'm going to be talking about the Arctic island, but mostly about one of the most remote and surreal places that you can find on the planet, would be the Icelandic Highlands. So first of all, I would like to do a small introduction. So I have my own travel agency here in Iceland with my partner Monica, and the travel agency is called Amarok Adventures. We are both mountain and glacier certified guides, and after so many years of doing every day the same single kind of tours, we decided like some years ago to quit. We decided to turn our lives upside down and start guiding the real adventure tours, were the ones that we really loved, or the one that we normally do by ourselves without clients. And we said, okay, why not trying to do these same tours but with travelers from all around the world? And well, until now, it was quite nice, and it has been a really amazing journey with all travelers, and it's still an amazing journey. We have been living in Iceland for the last few years, and we have found here perfect for exploring and hiking every time we can. And at the same time, we have developed our career as guides. Today, we are going to be talking first about Iceland, like general facts. Then I will give you some insider tips for visiting Iceland. Then we will talk a bit about the classic Laugavegur Trail. And then we will move forward super fast to the Hidden Trails. That is the main topic of this webinar. Finally, just the end, we will talk about the logistics during this trip and the trips that we have scheduled for 2021 and 2022. So this is Iceland, a small island in the North Atlantic Ocean with about 103,000 square kilometers of mainland. Okay, it can seem really small. It is not. It is super big, and you have plenty of things to see and to do when you're traveling to our home, to our small island. From this surface, from this 103,000 square kilometers, we have about an 11% of the mainland completely covered by ice, by the glacier. And then we have 30 active volcanic systems, from where we have 130 volcanoes in total. So Iceland's main international airport is located just 50 kilometers away from the capital, would be this international airport called Keflavik. And then we have another one in the north that it's called Akureyri International Airport. Yeah, so if you have anytime looked for information about Iceland, you might have known that there's a famous road that goes all around the whole island, that it's called the Ring Road. So normally when I call the people or I'm talking to someone that has never been here, I always make the same question, which is the first picture that comes straight to your mind. Months ago, it was maybe a picture of the Northern Lights, maybe a picture of the waterfalls. Right now is this one. So if you haven't heard about the most recent volcanic activity that we have on the island, since last March in the Reykjavík Peninsula on March 19th, we had an erupting volcano that is located in the Fagradalsfjall and the Geldingadalur Valley. At the beginning, there was just one main crater, but after several weeks, 7 more craters opened in the area. So it's kind of mind-blowing. And it's just 30 kilometers away from the capital. And normally people, they ask, so is it possible actually going to the volcano to visit the eruption site? Yes, it's possible, of course. We actually went the same day after the first eruption, as soon as it was safe to go. On that time, we had to hike about 20 kilometers, go and back. Right now, it's definitely a shorter hike, about just 7 kilometers in total. I'm going to repeat the question. What is Iceland known for? First, the volcano. Then we have the waterfalls. Of course, Iceland is full of these wonders. And some of them, of course, are taller or wider, but all of them are amazing. Also, you may have heard about the midnight sun, this phenomenon that we have here, and it's where we have almost 24 hours of daylight. Or maybe you have heard about the opposite, so the polar winter night, just 4 hours of daylight during the months of December, January. It's also the time when the skies are completely painted with the northern lights. So any time of the year coming to Iceland, it's going to be super scenic for you. And of course, as I said at the beginning, the crazy Icelandic landscapes that seem to come out of a science fiction movie, like this mountain that it's called Mælifell. and it's located in the Icelandic Highlands. Of course, as a local guide, how could I not recommend spending some time in the capital? Reykjavík has that magical atmosphere. Even being a city, you feel like being in a small town. I do live in Reykjavík, and I just love this city. I always recommend several things to do. The first, of course, is enjoy a long walk along the city. You do not need to jump into a bus for taking a tour around the city. You do not need to rent a car for going to different places. Just you need to go walking. The city is full of small and old charming streets, and most of them, they lead to the Hallgrímskirkja church. That is this one. And you will have the best time of your life if you take a short walk in Reykjavik. And also, I always love to recommend this, but it's enjoying the public swimming pools. So as you can see in the picture, I'm not recommending going to the Blue Lagoon or to the other famous hot pools that are like the most popular ones or the most touristic ones. This is because the swimming pools here in Iceland are an essential aspect of the Icelandic culture. It's where everyone meets to talk about any kind of topic: politics, weather, football, the kind of topics that you normally talk to your friends when you are going to the bar in different countries. Well, we do it here in the pools. And actually, this is my pool. This is where I go every single evening, late in the evening. This is Bestur Bæjarlaug, and it's just amazing. It's like going to a spa, that with the price of a public pool. So definitely recommend it. Of course, with warm water from 38 Celsius to 45 Celsius. So it's quite warm. Finally, I also recommend 100% going to the Old Harbor and to have a delicious meal in the food courts or on the old fishermen restaurants. This one is one of our favorite. It's called Grandi Mathöll. Our main topic for today, it's going to be the Highlands, the center of the island. You can see I've just highlighted in blue the Icelandic Highlands. And it's a region that actually seems to be quite small. And normally, even the people, when they are talking about the Highlands, they are just talking about the South Highlands or the Southern Highlands of Iceland. Actually, these highlands are about 50,000 square kilometers of surface. That's almost half of the entire surface of the island. So that's a lot. It's one of the wildest places here in the island and one of the most remote or with the most difficult access for sure if you're coming for visiting. And actually it's known that the Icelandic Highlands are completely impossible during the winter time. That's completely true, unless you have a friend that it's an experienced guide with a super jeep too that can take you here, like myself. So this shot was taken by myself, last November when we went to Landmannalaugar. That is one of the most famous places in the Icelandic Highlands. And we went there last November. We haven't returned this winter time because it has been quite dry and quite warm. So we didn't have really good weather for going into the highlands during this last winter. But normally in a year we can have several meters of snow. Laugavegur, the famous trail, the classic trail. So according to National Geographic, this is one of the best trails in the world. And I have to say, that's true. We are talking about 55 kilometers departing from Landmannalaugar, you can see up here, to Þórsmörk down there. We go hut by hut, hiking. It's about 15 kilometers per day, more or less. The first hut would be Hreppsnes, Álftavatn, Emstrur, and then we will end in Þórsmörk. And I have to say, it's true. It's a really amazing experience. We used to guide it with our group some years ago, hiking from those rhyolite mountains to the amazing birch forests and across deserts. It was fantastic. I mean, it was really good. These are the pictures from one of the groups that did this. But trust me, I mean, as time was passing, we saw how the trail became more and more and more popular. And somehow it lost the charm that once it had. So a couple of years ago, we were working as wardens in the main mountain hut in Landmannalaugar. And we saw all these people just coming by and stopping and starting the trail. And we said, okay, what if there would be something greater or something wilder or something even more epic? The good thing about the Icelandic Highlands is that the access to some of these places, it's super remote, super difficult, and that makes the most epic place for going hiking, for sure. And actually, that's how the Hidden Trails was born. We changed the 55 kilometers of the Laugavegur Trail for the 130 kilometers of the Hidden Trails. I like to define it like a mix between the last best stages of the famous trail, that would be the highlighted in white, with really remote areas. Okay, that would be these yellow ones and orange circles. Everything connected with all cheaper trails or with no trails at all. It's just fantastic. I mean, love it. I'm gonna show you why, because I hope at the end of the presentation you have the same perception as I do. But basically, we changed from hiking among many people to being completely alone for several days. This trail is completely different. I mean, there's not a single track. There's not a market trail to follow. And you really need to know how to read the landscape and how to orientate in the Icelandic weather. If there's someone among the public that knows about Iceland or has been here, they know what I'm talking about when I'm saying about the Icelandic weather. Why the Hidden Trails and not the Laugavegur? So first, our main motivation for doing this trail, I would say, that was to be completely away from the crowds, that now even more during the post-COVID times, it's better than ever. Secondly, to discover the true hidden remote places. And third, I always like to say that would be to give the traveler, anyone who wants to come with us, to give them the feeling of being living an epic adventure. So during 10 days, we'll hike across some places that were not discovered until the 19th century, through lands that were only roamed by the outlaws on the old times. So it's kind of impressive to be completely alone for hundreds of kilometers, and you will see why. So we start hiking in the Landmannalaugar Valley among volcanic craters filled up with water, like this one that it's called Hnausafellur. Then we move on to these rhyolite mountains with orange and red tones, and it's just crazy. I mean, how the landscape can change from 30 minutes to the following 30 minutes. We normally spend here 2 entire nights in a big mountain hut in Landmannalaugar. We do this in order to discover more during the day than anyone else does in a regular day tour, or even during the Laugavegur Trail. Like, for example, this is not part of the Laugavegur Trail, and it's completely the opposite side of the Laugavegur Trail. It's one of the most best kept secrets close to Landmannalaugar, and it's called Uppgönguhryggur. The name is super difficult for the traveler. So normally the people, they like to call it the back of the dragon because of the colors that it has. Yeah, I mean, we are going to be hiking here for 2 entire days, and we will change this kind of martian landscape with orange tones to this black desert with the surrounding mossy mountains when the Lancashire Lake is located. In this case, this lake, that is one of the longest lakes here in Iceland, wasn't discovered until the 19th century, as I said before. We are going to hike through super remote trails in here. Like, for example, we will hike across the Fögrufjöll mountains, and where we are going to get the best views of this lake. Yeah, of course, the sunsets in here are just amazing, are just fantastic. I mean, this is crazy. The views from up here, from Sveinstindur mountain, from the peak of Svein, the first geologist that came here, are just crazy. After hiking in here, we will kind of squeeze behind the mountains to find an old shepherd hut that has been rebuilt and that is placed in the bottom of the plain. You can see there. Yeah, I mean, just look at this picture. You see the hut. Just picture yourself standing late in the evening. Inside, we are cooking some meals for the dinner, and you are outside with a cold beer in your hand and looking around you, and this is crazy. I mean, this is just fantastic. The following day, we start following the rivers from the main hut. Instead of preparing for river crossing, we will need to prepare ourselves for something completely different. That it's the mud crossing. You will get a really good treatment for your feet skin. We will follow this canyon until we will arrive to the next hut. We can find this. According to the Icelandic mythology, these are the petrified fighting trolls. They are really close to this hut. We are in love with them because it's just like being inside a lava forest with lava trees. You can see the trunk, you can see the top, and that's just fantastic. I mean, this place has something. It's like the entrance to one place where you can find a lot of guardians, a lot of trolls, completely petrified, waiting for you for entering or stepping into the following day. So we will hike across one of the most surreal places that you can find in the world. That is the Alkjau Canyon. As you can see here, first we step into brown hills with some green tones, and then everything changes to red suddenly, and then we are here in the middle of the biggest volcanic canyon in the world. The Alkjau Canyon, actually, it's translated as the fire gorge. That's just fantastic. Imagine a huge volcanic eruption coming from this fissure. It's almost unbelievable. And in the middle of the canyon, you actually can see how the life can restart. Proof of this is the impassable waterfall, or Óværufoss, that is the one that brings all the water into a volcanic canyon and makes the moss to grow again in here. As we are getting closer and closer to the place that we like to call the Ragnarok fires, we can find enormous lava fields covered with moss. And yeah, in here we can find huge rivers. At some point we will be hiking nearby, and then we will need to cross them. And we will need to do this. That is actually one of the most amazing feelings or amazing experiences that normally people remember after the trip. For getting to one hut that it's at the border or at the limits of this lake, and it's called Altava. This hut has something, I always say. I don't know why, but for me, it's one of my favorite huts in the whole island. It is a hut with a lot of history. This hut was used by the shepherd in the old times, and they used to sleep inside with the horses. I mean, stepping inside is kind of magical. Now we have a well-equipped kitchen. On the top, we have a lot of mattresses, so it's a super warm, super cozy, and one of the best huts in the Highlands. And yeah, the most exciting part of the trip is what we like to call the Ragnarok fires. We call it this way because the Norse mythology speaks about the Ragnarok, the battle of the end of the world between the Norse gods and the giants. As with most myth, it was inspired by real stories and natural phenomena. So if you remember that we were hiking through the Alkjau Canyon, or the fire gorge, 2 days ago, well, in here we are gonna keep seeing all the effects of that eruption. If we step a bit out of the trail, we will see that the crack is still there during the whole day until we arrive to the last hut of that day. So actually, it's like about 70 kilometers of crack. That it's kind of insane. It's a huge volcanic eruption. And the eruption of the volcanic system that was linking the Katla volcano, that it's going to be almost at the south of the island, with this Alkjau volcano, is believed to have inspired the description of the Ragnarok, of the battle of the end of the world in the Viking sagas. Because of this eruption, there are a lot of landscapes during this day that look just out of a science fiction movie like this. I mean, you can see the red colors in the ground, and then you have this almost fluorescent moss, and then obsidian just lying in the ground for you. It's like everything just condensed in one single place. Yeah, so if the day is good enough, like normally is, actually, I have to say that this last year we had a lot of luck. And if the weather permits, we will be able to take a bath in a secret and natural pool filled up with geothermal water before arriving to the hut. This is a hot thermal pool, super natural, that almost no one knows. And it's really close to a cold river, so you can do this contrasts between the cold water and the really, really, really warm water. The hut from here is just 1 hour hiking, no more. And yeah, during the whole day, we're gonna see this kind of landscape, nonstop, completely nonstop. And I don't know if you have heard about this, but here in Iceland, everything is so pure. We have more than 600 different species of mosses. And during this day, actually, we are gonna see a lot of them. You remember I was talking a couple of seconds ago about the almost fluorescent moss. Well, that's one. Then in here we have completely different one up here, and then all across this mountain that is my favorite mountain in the whole island, that it's called Strutur. And for me, it's the most beautiful formation in the entire island. And after spending the night in the hut that is just on the other side of this mountain, is that one, small one, super cozy, we will hike Black Tefra Canyon, and we will see how it would be this canyon, and we will see how the green carpet of moss, that would be, for example, this one, changes slowly, and it turns into a complete black desert. black desert of sediment that was left behind by the ancient glaciers. So it's kind of shocking for some people. But also we can find this kind of special, I would say, or amazing formations like this kind of fluorescent moss, again, growing on top of the rocks, or this green moss with some iron on the side. So it's insane how the nature can be here in Iceland. And in the end, nature, that always finds its way. And of course, depending on the year, we might also need to walk over a bit of old snow from the winter time and until we arrive at the last valley that will lead us to the hut for that night, that it's called Álftavatn, or the Swan's Lake. If I needed to describe this place with just one sentence, I would say it's the proper place for enjoying a cold beer while you're enjoying the sunset reflecting in the lake. It's just fantastic. And it's the only hut that has a small bar close to the hut. So it's quite nice also to see a bit of civilization after so many days hiking in the complete wilderness. From here, actually, we will link to the Laugavegur Trail. But instead of taking the regular route, the following day we will take a more scenic route before entering the Black Desert. And from here, from this route, we can have these views from top of the lake. And it's just crazy, again. Once in the desert, we will need to cross several rivers. The first one, of course, it's done with this small bridge, and then we will need to do it by ourselves, just crossing on barefoot. The thing is that at this point, you will be already really experienced in river crossing. So there will be no problems with the rivers that you have already crossed before. So on the way, we will also find that all this water that flows from the glaciers through the Black Desert brings a lot of life to this area. And such as these pink flowers or the green mosses that you can find all along the desert. And I mean, just look at this. Imagine just hiking on a place like this, and then suddenly a lot of small spots, pink spots in the ground, lying in the ground. Those are these flowers everywhere, and super beautiful. You can already see that this trail is really more well marked than the previous days. And of course, we will find more hikers going on the way to the next hut, that it's called Emstrud, this one. Here we are going to find more people because these are the last stages of the Laugavegur Trail. Nevertheless, they are still super beautiful and really, really, really amazing. Finally, at last, all these landscapes will change slowly while we head to the last hut of the trip. So we will see how life starts growing around us again until we cross the last river and we step completely and absolutely into the forests of Thorsmörk. It's one of the only places in Iceland where you can see a native forest, completely different to the other days or as you have been seeing during the trip. As you can see, you haven't seen a forest like this in other parts of Iceland. And we will arrive to the last hut at the bottom of the Valley of the God of Thunder, at the bottom of Thorsmörk. And there we will do an ending trip barbecue with local products such as vegetables, lamb, salmon. And of course, if you are vegan or vegetarian, there's no problem. For sure, we can adapt anything to your needs. And this year, we have added something new. We have started a small relationship or partnership with a local producer of the real and authentic Viking drink, the mead. That it's a mix between the water, honey, and yeast. And it's really, really, really good. And it's soft. It's like drinking a sweet white wine. In my personal opinion, I love it. I love it. If you like beer, you will love the Icelandic beer. If you like wine, you will love the mead for sure, definitely. And if you do not like beer or wine and you only drink Coca-Cola or water, you will try the mead and you will love it for sure. After a whole evening resting in Thorsmörk in the Langidalur hut, we will depart the valley on the following morning by vehicle and we will head back to Reykjavík. Depending on the size of the group, we use this kind of vehicle that it's our Nissan Patrol, modified of course, because here in this river we can get a lot of meters deep. So first of all, do I need to be an extreme hiker for coming to the trek? Not a professional hiker, but you need to feel comfortable hiking in the mountains, carrying your own backpack and sleeping in mountain huts. I mean, in this trip, we hike 130 kilometers. So every day we walk between 8 kilometers, that would be the shortest day, to 20 kilometers or 21 kilometers, that would be the longest. We normally say that we hike between 5 to 7 hours each day from one hut to the following one. And actually, there are not really steep ascents during the whole trail. If you like hiking in the wild for several days, definitely this is your trip. I mean, you will enjoy it a lot. Do I need any technical mountain gear? Not more than your boots, your waterproof, or your warm clothing. If we need by chance to cross some small ice cap, we will provide micro spikes the day before. Normally that only happens during early July. So if you're coming in August or September, definitely we will not need to. So do I need to carry my own food? No need to carry your food during backpack during the whole trail, except for your picnic. At the beginning of the trip, we send our vehicle with food boxes filled up with non-perishable supplies for breakfast and dinners, such as rice, pasta, non-perishable vegetables, and a lot of things. You will not miss anything at all, I can guarantee you. And during the trip, we also have some refills with fresh food, such as vegetables, fruit, or local products. And actually, this vehicle that we use for transporting the food is actually the one that we use for taking you to and from the highlands. So you will never see any kind of food box with all food supplies. For every trip, we refill all the boxes from the beginning. And is there a plan B if we cannot hike because of the weather? Absolutely. If the weather is horrific, the guide is always in touch by satellite radio with the person outside in charge of the vehicle. If we cannot hike, we would be picked up and transferred to the next hut. And also, I have to say that there are several ways to reach each day's destination. So we will always have chances of hiking. What happens is, for example, we are in the hut number 1 and we need to go to hut number 2. But there's terrible weather starting on the day on hut number 1. Can we hike on hut number 2 around the hut? Of course, we would be transferred from the hut number 1 to the number 2, and we would spend the day hiking around. Good thing about the Icelandic Highlands is that it's full of hidden or remote places that are just amazing for hiking. So here in Iceland, we have this famous expression: if you do not like the weather, just wait 15 minutes. And this is because when hiking in the highlands, you can expect the 4 seasons on the same day. And we do have completely different weather in the highlands. We can have really foggy days like the one in the left side. We have had snow also sometimes, and we can have really bad weather such as rain. But for example, last year during COVID, we had a group that they had 12 days of sunny skies. This can happen, of course, and the most unlikely thing to happen would be the one here on the left side. So this is not the most common thing. It's important for you to know that we do have a completely different weather in the Icelandic Highlands than in the rest of the island. And this is because the Icelandic Highlands are just between 3-4 glaciers. So this makes like a micro weather. The mountain huts here in the Icelandic Highlands are our basic accommodation during the trip. Some of them, of course, are bigger and with more people sleeping inside. And the others are smaller, like these ones, with almost no one else than us. That's the really good thing about this trail. In the largest hut, there is both running water and water toilets, but in some of the smaller, we need to draw the water from nearby streams for using it, for cooking or for cleaning, for anything. Most of these huts have showers, but not all of them. Toilets and showers are always outside of the hut. There are in the whole trip just 3 huts without shower. The rest of them, they have really good showers, really warm showers, or if not, they have this hot natural pools close by that you can also take a dip. That I actually recommend definitely doing that. And in all of them, we have shared bathrooms like the one in the picture. And we always cook by ourselves. So one important thing also about these mountain huts that make them completely different to the huts in other regions of the world. For example, in Europe, you have a meal service. In Iceland, we do not have meal service inside the huts. So there's no cook or there's no bar in the huts. We have a common kitchen. We need to cook by ourselves, but there's no need to worry because we, the guides, we love to cook. I would say proudly that I'm an excellent cook and I love to prepare meals for the group every night and using local products, really good quality products. So you are not going to be hungry any day of the whole trip. You will enjoy every meal. Answering the vegetarian or vegan issue, we can adapt for sure. Any kind of meal. There's no problem. We just needed to know it in advance before coming to the island. And about the heating in the huts, for example, we always say that the sleeping bag, it has not to be super top minus 20 Celsius. No, you do not need a super pro sleeping bag. This is because in all of the mountain huts, we do have geothermal heating from the water coming from inside the ground, or we have gas stoves for heating the whole hut. So normally I can sleep inside the mountain huts with the sleeping bag completely open because I live in Iceland. Today there were 10 Celsius and I was sweating in the street. So for me, it's the perfect temperature inside, and I can tell you that all the huts are really, really, really warm inside. Talking about the gear, what do we need to carry during the hiking trip like this? So if you are used to hike, you might know how to dress by layers, of course. Just keep in mind what I told you a couple of minutes ago about the 4 seasons on the same day. So it's always to bring waterproof clothes and warm clothes and spare clothes, of course. About the sleeping bag, I already said that you don't need a pro sleeping bag. I also do recommend that despite that we always bring our own first aid kit, you should bring yours just in case you have some special medicines or similar that you need to take. Then I would say, what else do I need to bring? So sandals for river crossing. There are a lot of people that they say, yeah, I can do it barefoot. No, you cannot do it barefoot. I mean, this water is flowing down from the glaciers. It's super cold. It's amazing feeling when you step into a river, gotta say. But there in some parts, there are stones that can be quite sharp. So I always recommend do it with sandals. If you have close sandals, that would be fantastic. Also, I recommend hiking sticks or hiking poles. For example, I do not never use hiking poles when hiking. But when you are crossing a river, these hiking poles will help you to keep the balance inside the river. A bottle that you're gonna refill every single day with Icelandic pure and clean water. So there is no need to bring these pills for making the water drinkable at all. Every single river here in Iceland, it's completely clean and you can just drink it directly from the stream. No, but I do not feel confident. No problem. You can refill your bottle in the hut in the morning. At the end, the water in Iceland is one of the most purest and cleanest waters in the entire world. I mean, there's no pollution here. So it's perfect place. Most important, try to be minimalist. The less luggage, the better. You do not need to bring a huge novel because you are not going to read during the night. You are going to be talking with the other people from the group. You are going to be laughing. You are going to be remembering the previous days. You're not going to be reading aloud. You are going to be enjoying the moment with the group. So definitely try to be minimalist. These last months have been totally uncertain and everything can change in a blink of an eye. If you are vaccinated or you have a certification that proves that you have already had the virus, you can enjoy this adventure with no limits coming today. If you haven't been vaccinated yet, it depends on where you are coming from. Some high-risk countries or high-risk areas are still banned. This June, we expect to have about 70% of the entire Icelandic population vaccinated. So we are expecting to get super more relaxed rules on June 15th. So if, for example, you are coming in August, there's going to be almost 100% of the entire population of Iceland completely vaccinated. I mean, we have been both been vaccinated already. US are not on the high-risk countries list anymore. Canadian are on the high-risk country category 1. That means that at this moment, if you are vaccinated, of course, you can come. If you are not, you need to stay for quarantine for 5 days. If you come from the United States, you only need to be vaccinated for entering. Russian vaccine is not accepted. Here in Iceland, we talk about only the Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. about the PCR test on arrival. It can take about between 6 hours and 24 hours to get the results. So it's always good to arrive 1 day prior to the beginning of the trip, if you can, of course. This will change on June 15th, for sure. Right now, the US are out of the risk zone. A lot of European countries are out of the risk zone. So most likely, as soon as the whole population of Iceland is going to get vaccinated, as we are already, everything will be more relaxed. Right now, just to let you know, the situation here in Iceland is really good. We are below an incidence of 10 cases per 100,000 inhabitants in the last 14 days. Since a couple of days ago, we do not need to wear face masks anymore, but in some places like public transportation. Adventure dates for this year and prices. So first of all, this trip has a duration of 12 days. We have 3 departures or 3 groups for 2021. The first one would be from July 24th to August 4th, and then we have August 14th to August 24th. This group has already been confirmed, so that's a super good news. Then we have another group in September, from September 4th to September 15th. You will see that I've just written there that we have 5 spots left from 8. We normally have a group of maximum 13, but this trip is happening actually in special dates. So we have decided to reduce it as much as we could, because this trip will be happening during the sheep gathering. So that means that we might be sharing some of the huts with we already know that we will be sharing some of the huts with the shepherds that will be just collecting the sheep around the highlands. If you are into cultural experiences, this would be definitely your trip, because you will see something out of this world. The sheep gathering in Iceland is just like a party. It's crazy. They go, all the shepherds with the dogs, and sometimes in different regions with the horses or with motorbikes, just to look for the sheep that are roaming free in the middle of the highlands for several months. We already have the groups for 2022. We are already getting requests for 2022. That's why we decided to make it happen now. And all the huts and all the accommodations are already booked. So it's a really good thing. So first date would be from July 10th to July 21st on 2022, August 7th to August 18th, 2022, and September 1st to September 12th, 2022. The price, as you can see in 57 Hours webpage, it's $3,120 or what would be translated to euros into 2,550 euros. We request a 30% deposit, and we have a new COVID policy. Basically, our trips can be changed free of charge or canceled for a full refund up to 6 weeks before the start date. So if you cancel with a bit more than a month before the trip starts, then we will refund you the entire amount. And there's no cancellation fee if we need to cancel because there are new COVID restrictions and you cannot come, or Iceland is completely closed, or whatever. As always, we are a small travel agency. We can be super flexible, and we were super flexible last year. We will do the best we can to ensure that you will be happy during the trip, or if you decided to not to come this year and come in 2022. The group size, it's from 5 to 13 people, and the licensed mountain guide from Amarok Adventures, of course, is included, and all the transfers. Since the moment you arrive to Keflavik International Airport, you will be transferred to Reykjavík by a local bus, and then you will be transferred in Super Jeep to the Highlands with the rest of the group the first day of the trip. Then we have, of course, one accommodation in a guest house in Reykjavík and accommodations in mountain huts during the whole trip. You have included all meals during the hiking trip and all the hiking fees. Do you have something not included? Yes. One dinner when we end the trip, the international flights, and the trip insurance. That, of course, we cannot force you to have a trip insurance, but we always recommend you to have a trip insurance because you are going to be traveling and hiking in one of the most wildest places in the world. You will not need it, for sure. You are with us. There's going to be no risk and no problem at all. People, this is happening, so just sign up for the trip. We are going to have a really good summer this year, definitely. We're going to just forget about COVID, so just come to us.